Not going to lie, ladies and gentlemen, I was honestly getting annoying with the Rodgers talk, or I'm sorry, I was getting annoyed with them just in every Jets game, cutting to Aaron Rodgers, throwing on the field before warmups, going, oh, look at him. Oh, he's off crutches. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. I'm like, what? Why do we really need to focus in on this? Aaron Rodgers may actually come back. Designated to return from the IR. I mean, obviously, he's not coming back right now. If you are looking at a timeline, I mean, he can be back at practice. He's practicing today. From what I can tell from doctors I'm seeing on Twitter, of course, this is unprecedented, so it doesn't really, look to be a spot where we can easily predict what's going to happen, is that if Rodgers were going to come back, it would be in about 3 to 4 weeks. Which is interesting because right now we are going to be in week 13. So you have weeks 13, 14. 3 weeks from now, we're in the playoffs. I'm not telling you to go pick up Aaron Rodgers. There's no reason for you to pick up Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the fantasy football upside that he would have would be severely limited. Wouldn't really have much rushing upside, right? However, if you are going to be looking at what you have with Garrett Wilson, if you're looking at what you have with Breece Hall, it may make a difference if Rodgers can actually come back for the final 2 weeks of the season if you are a playoff team. Now, I know that he said, I'm going to come back no matter what, no matter even if we are out of the playoffs. I have a heart, I don't know. I mean, they're 4-7, right? So ultimately, I don't know what he's trying to prove. I don't know what they're really trying to accomplish here. I mean, if you're looking at the Jets, they're 4-7, not even close to making the playoffs. I mean, over the next few weeks, they're going up against the Dolphins, Texans, Falcons. Without Rodgers, I think we can assume that at best they win one of those games, and that's absolute best. So Rodgers would be looking at like a 5-9 football team trying to rush inside. It's just incredible. I mean, if he actually does make it back, I want to say one of the better stories in sports, and for the final 2 weeks could bump up Wilson and Hall. But I think that should be it in terms of looking at the Aaron Rodgers news. Let's go ahead and let's dive into some questions. Let me pull this up on the other screen, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, as I do this, please, if you have not done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems, I really like James Conner for fewer than 61.5 rushing yards. You can find that link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK is going to get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Dak Prescott special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you take advantage of that with code FLOCK. But let's go ahead and let's move over and look at WTF Huck. Happy to see it. Says, start Warner, Charbonnet, full BBR. Nice seeing you. Nice seeing you, my friend. I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet over Jalen Warren under the assumption that you are going to have no Kenneth Walker. And I think it's pretty safe to say that you'll have no Kenneth Walker. Right now, he's listed as doubtful for this game. We know for a fact that you will have the receiving usage with Zach Charbonnet. He's going to be used as a 3-down running back overall. Now, obviously, it is a brutal matchup, but he'll be in a 3-down role, whereas Jalen Warren's going to split 50-50 with Najee. I mean, you would rather have Charbonnet going up against Arizona, of course. Now, Michael coming out saying 12-team PBR, 7-5, and in the 6th seed. We have Hurts, Dobbs, CMC, Henry, H.N. Mitchell, Debo Smith, Kupp, Godwin, Hockenson, Taysom. Any moves you think I can make before the playoffs? Or are we locked in? Honestly, don't really see much here. I mean, if a few weeks ago you could have got some value by trading, say, Joshua Dobbs, it probably would have made sense considering the fact that we have Jalen Hurts. But now you're not going to get anything for Dobbs after that primetime game. Everybody who saw it. It's not like we're overloaded with wide receiver or running back depth, and we have a nice combo of talent at the very top end and depth throughout both positions. So honestly, no, I think it's a very solid team, top to bottom. Surprised you're only in the 6th seed. Now, Max says, must win out. PBR trade Charbonnet for Taysom. We have Hawkinson on bye, Etienne Pollard, and Javonte. The thing is, like, is Taysom that much better than someone else you're going to get off the waiver wire for this week? You can if you really, really want to, and it truly is a must-win week. But you are losing value. And I would imagine that maybe there's someone off waivers we can get a tight end. But, I mean, if you're playing in a deeper league and there's nobody, I mean, Taysom will be fine with everybody injured in New Orleans. Arm says, need a win to make the playoffs. Dak, Henry, Kyler, H.N., Jones, Charbonnet, Waddle, Olave. Trade Henry and Olave for Pacheco and Nico. It's a 1-quarterback single flex league. So going from Henry to Pacheco, honestly, I think you make an argument for Pacheco with the McKinnon injury. Going from Olave to Nico, I think you want to go Olave for the long term, but with Olave missing this week, I understand where you're coming from. I would try to do this deal with T. Higgins instead. You are losing long-term value, but if it's truly you need to win out and you don't think you can win with no wide receiver help this week, then I understand you making the move. I'd rather try to sell Higgins, though. JT says, Pig 1, rest of season. Happy BR. White and Pacheco, thank you. Thank you. I'd say happy BR format. I'm a little bit less excited about Rachaad White, but I'm still going to be going ahead. I'm still going to be taking Rachaad White here. GV says, we have 3 quarterbacks, need to trade 1. Who to bench, start, trade, rest of season? Lamar, Kyler, and Dak. So if we are ranking these guys rest of season, I'm going to go Lamar, Dak, then Kyler. But the thing is, that doesn't mean, oh, just sell Kyler. Because the reality of the situation is probably not going to get anything for Kyler, right? I mean, we can try to go through and sell him. And I'd be happy to see what you could get. But I just don't want to be unreasonable and say, oh, yeah, just go sell Kyler Murray and let's bring in Chris Olave. You know, like, I don't necessarily know how excited people are going to be to trade for Kyler Murray at this point, whereas I'm pretty confident you could get something for Dak Prescott. But thank you again for always being out here with us, my friend. Really do appreciate you. And Jacob says, full BBR pick 3, Bijan, Kyron, Warren, Charbonnet, and Achane. Achane does have a beautiful matchup. So does Warren, but Warren doesn't have the same type of workload. So I'm actually going to be going Bijan, Kyron, and Achane. And then if Achane obviously is not good to go, then worst case scenario, you pivot to Warren. Now, Britton says, Sub Mason, 12-team PBR. Need help on who to start. It's a 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, single flex league. We have Javonte, Moss, Aaron Jones, Charbonnet, Brian Robinson. For the bench wide receivers, we have Watson and Cooks. Do we start 3 running backs? And if so, which ones? So at running back right now, we are to be starting Javonte and Zach Moss. So it's essentially, are we starting Watson, Brandon Cooks, Charbonnet, or Brian Robinson? I definitely think we go with the running back here. If you're looking at the spread on that game that we have in Washington as well, the Commanders are like 10-point dogs against the Dolphins here, so I'm probably not excited to go through and start Brian Robinson in this kind of game environment. So I would probably rather just go ahead and start Zach Charbonnet, because at least with Zach Charbonnet, if his team falls behind significantly, you should expect a considerable amount of receiving usage. Now, nobody always happy to see us says need 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. We have Eckler, Moss, Swift, Achane, Evans, Kirk, Nico. Thanks, man. Thank you. Our running backs, we're going to be going with Moss, Eckler. Our wide receivers, we're going to go Evans and Collins. And then our flex, we will go DeAndre Swift, despite DeAndre Swift having the very tough matchup going up against San Fran. Mark says, Mason, my guy, 8-4 lineup is Tua, Brees, Mostert, Ayuk, Dell, Kelsey, Waddle. And then on the bench, we have Puka, Charbonnet, Rice. Worried about the injuries for Dell, Brees, and Mostert. So as it stands right now, I am operating under the assumption that all three of these guys are going to play. Let me go ahead and let me pull up the most recent reports that we have with these guys. Just give me 1 second. I mean, I think that you're in a good spot as of now because worst case scenario, right? You go through and you throw Puka in for Dell. I guess with the running backs, maybe it's a little bit of a tougher situation specifically because Zach Charbonnet plays tomorrow, of course. So let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about Mostert here. The thing is, he hasn't practiced early in the week all season now. The man's like 31 years old. He doesn't need to be at practice. I mean, it's better for him to just take the day off. And I'm not worried about take Dell because, like we said, I mean, you will have that option we can pivot to with Puka if all else fails. Let's go ahead and see what we have with Breece Hall here and see if there's anything we need to be concerned with. Okay. I don't see anything that's too concerning with Hall. I mean, obviously, a hamstring's never great to see with these running backs, but I'm still going to be operating under the assumption that these guys are playing. If you really, really wanted to go through and play it safe and throw Zach Charbonnet in your starting lineup just to make sure that we have a running back that's good to go, and then we can just make sure that we play one or the other, Mostert or Hall on Sunday, you can do that. I would probably just not worry about it. Now, Just Sherman says Charbonnet, Wilson, or Watson in a half PPR format. I'm going to go ahead. I will play Zach Charbonnet. Really tough matchup for Charbonnet, but we've seen that he's going to have the 3-down workload with his snaps and his receiving usage. Met Turtle says Montgomery for JT, full BBR double flex. We have Stroud, Zach Moss, ETN, Hall, Charbonnet, Kelsey, Keenan, Dell, Johnson. Should we hold on to JT or 5 and 7? Now, if you're 5 and 7, double flex league, got to make the move. I mean, it sucks to say, Jonathan Taylor, my most drafted running back this year. So I hate to say it, but yeah, I'm selling Jonathan Taylor for David Montgomery on a 5 and 7 team where we need some production. Now, Dilly Dagger says 20 team full BBR. We have Purdy, Kamara, White, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Hawkinson, JT. And flex is Ravens defense. We traded JT and Hawkinson for Likely and Jefferson. No depth. We lost Chubb and Anthony Richardson. Must win the next 2 weeks. So completely understand where you're coming from, right? Where you have no Jonathan Taylor over the next 2 weeks. And at the same time, it's a 20-team league, so it's not as simple as, oh, just go to the waiver wire and find someone to fill in. So I understand that we have to go through and we have to make a trade. My only hesitation with this is, okay, well, at the end of the day, I mean, we're trading for Justin Jefferson, who's not playing this week. So if it's truly a must-win spot, I don't know how excited we really are about it, you know? I think maybe we would have been in a better situation going through and trading for a different guy who's already gone through his bye week. But I completely understand where you're coming from with this deal. Long Schlong says, Sup Mason, getting riddled with injuries. Currently 6 and 6 in a 12-team single flex league. We have Goff, Taylor, Cook, Chase, Dell, oh, this is brutal, Johnson, JSN, McBride, and Njoku Pitts. We got HN for Njoku right at the deadline, but we lost Burrow and now JT. Okay, so we traded Njoku for Devon Achane. That literally just saved our season. I was going to say, the thing that we need to do is we need to find a way to not roster 3 tight ends here. We need to go try to pick up another running back. I wouldn't have even told you to try to make that trade just because I assume that everybody and their mom would rather have Devon Achane over David Njoku. I mean, Goff is fine at quarterback. The issue with losing a Burrow here is more so what it means to Jamar Chase, at least in my mind. Like, we're kind of okay playing Jared Goff. Just makes the lineup worse in a couple other spots. And if you're a 6-6, it can't hurt to go through and approach a team that's locked into the playoffs. Approach the first place team, approach the second place team, and try to gas them up and go, hey man, I see that you are locked and loaded in the playoffs. What would you give me for Jonathan Taylor? Can you give me Jahmyr Gibbs? I just need some points right now. You know, like we can try to gas him up and ship off Jonathan Taylor to one of the playoff teams to get some points in here today. I think that would probably be something that we are looking to do. Outside of that, great trade there with the Achane move. I think that honestly probably saved our season. Now, Hookamoran's coming out, says, huge week for me. Who to start full BBR for the flex? We're going to go White or Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, both running backs look to be in great spots, right? I mean, with Jahmyr Gibbs, elite level offense, and at the same time, massive role as a receiver. Rachaad White, massive role as a receiver, and in a top-end matchup going up against the Panthers. If you looked at my rankings so far, earlier this week, I did rank Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Rachaad White. But if you look at the underdog pick'ems here, they have Rachaad White at 93.5 total yards. So honestly, you're probably going to have to go through and you're probably going to have to take Rachaad White over Jahmyr Gibbs. And thank you so much for being a Texas Longhorn, my friend. And thank you. Of course, Hookamorans. Let's get in the playoffs here. I mean, you and me both know the Texas Longhorns were winning the Big 12 this year. I mean, that was a guarantee from the jump. But the question is, can we sneak in to be in that top 14? Now, Jordan says, I'm locked in for the playoffs. Do we trade Moss for Taylor and hope he's ready by week 15 or bet on Moss carrying the workload over the next few weeks? Couple different things. If you're telling me that the next few weeks don't matter for us at all, I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor for the playoffs. Now, the issue is, are we fighting for a bye spot? Like, if we can use the Zach Moss production over the next few weeks and maybe lock up a bye, then in that case, I would say, no, I'd probably rather go through and I'd probably rather hold on to Zach Moss. So it really does matter. Like, are we playing for anything here? You know, and if we're playing for anything, then maybe we want to keep the production. Ethan says, we have Lamb. We need to start another receiver between Dell, Collins, Chase, and Debo. I'm going to go Dell if he's good to go. If Dell's not good to go, then probably Chase, even if it's disgusting. Jacob says, Schultz or Freiermuth this week and rest of season. So you have a great matchup for Freiermuth going up against the Arizona Cardinals. If you look at my rankings this week, I'm going to have Freiermuth at 7. I'm going to have Schultz at 8. I'm going to go Freiermuth this week, especially with Schultz being banged up. Long-term, a little bit tougher. Long-term, I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, let's see what we get out of Dalton Schultz because the snaps did come down considerably this past week. Now, Jacob says, Puka, Dell, Amon-Ra, Deontay Rice, start 3. We're going to go Puka, Dell, Amon-Ra. And honestly, I mean, while I'm excited about Rice, can't consider him over someone like Amon-Ra. Now, Kimchi says, drop Godwin, Amari, or Addison for Christian Watson. If you were to drop one of these guys for Watson, it would be Amari, but I don't know if we do it. Now, Joey says, 9-3, we have a bye the first week of the playoffs. Trade offer. I give up McBride, Ford, Palmer, and get back Pitts, Sutton, Walker. So going from McBride to Pitts, pretty big downgrade. Palmer to Sutton, it's an upgrade, especially in a 16-team league where depth matters. And going from Ford to Walker is an upgrade, especially in a 16-team league when depth matters. So I would say in a regular situation, probably not. In a regular situation, I think you keep the production right now with Trey McBride. but if you're telling me that we have locked up the bye, then sure, we will go ahead and we will make this move. Specifically in that 16-team format where a player like Courtland Sutton will actually move the needle. Now, Michael says, follow up to the first question. As to why I'm 6th seed. Started out 2-3, found your channel, made 9 trades to get a loaded team. Thanks for all you do. No, thank you so much for being a member of the flock, my friend. And congrats on now having that strong team going into the playoffs. But RM, happy to see you, says, how's the big flock energy treating you? Who should we stream for quarterback this week? Love Pickett against Arizona or Baker. Appreciate you, my man. And I mean, I know a lot of you on the chat have big flock energy. I have little flock energy, sadly. But nonetheless, I hopefully will know who to start this week at quarterback. And here, I'm probably going to go Jordan Love. You have an 18.5 point implied team total, which is lower than what you have in Pittsburgh. But ultimately, we know the Packers are probably going to be forced to throw it consistently when they're trailing this game. I mean, you can make an argument as well for Baker. Baker has a higher implied team total going up against Carolina as well. The issue is what we have seen, at least with teams going up against Carolina, is that they're going to go through and they are going to run the ball in the second half. There's really just no reason to expect a lot of passing volume against Carolina Panthers defense when the Panthers offense can't keep up. Now, Caleb says 8-4, 12-team league. We have Russ, Goff, Kyron, Achane, Mixon, Keaton, Jeb Wilson Jr., Tyreek, Tank, Hollywood, Deontay, Palmer, Kincaid, Goddard, Frymuth. Start sits this week and outlook for rest of season. Okay. We are going to be starting Kyron, Achane, Tyreek, Tank, and then for the flex, we are going to be going with Hollywood Brown. Quarterback, we are going to go Jared Goff. Tight end, we will go with Pat Frymuth. I think it is a fine team rest of season. The only thing that I would say is I mean, if I was going to go through and change anything, I really don't like rostering a combined 5 quarterbacks and tight ends, right? I feel like it does cap us a little bit at wide receiver and running back. Jason, happy to see you, my man, says, good to see you. 12-team PPR, 3 wide receivers and a flex. We have Hurts, CMC, Hall, Waddle, Pittman, Puka, Laporta, Collins, Hollywood, Deontay, Edwards. 8-4, locked in the playoffs. Traded Diggs, Cup for Collins and Puka. What are your thoughts? Also, should we try to trade for an RB2? So obviously in this league, depth's going to matter a little bit more than it would elsewhere. But going down from Diggs to Collins is a pretty big downgrade in my mind. Cup to Puka, maybe you make an argument it's a big upgrade. In reality, I think maybe it's a little bit closer to a lateral move. So to be honest with you, I would have rather had Stephon Diggs, especially if you're already locked in the playoffs where it doesn't impact you as much as Stephon Diggs going on the bye week this week. Now, if we're looking at what else we can do here, I mean, trading for an RB2 isn't too much of a priority for us at this point. If you really wanted to, you do have the depth to go through and send a depth wide receiver or maybe even a depth running back like Gus Edwards and Breece Hall to go get an RB upgrade, or Hollywood and Breece Hall to go get an RB upgrade. But I mean, it's going to depend on what we have here with the people in our league on if they're excited to trade for Breece Hall and if they think Rodgers is really coming back. Now, Senior coming out saying 12-team full BBR, pick 3. Hall, Charbonnet, Singletary, Stevenson, Achane, and Hollywood. Tough spot here. I'm not going to go Hollywood. We're definitely looking at the running backs. I mean, I think you probably have to play Breece Hall in this range, even if the offense is disgusting. Outside of Breece Hall, I think we're going to be going with Stevenson and Achane if Achane's going to go. And if Achane's not going to go, then we'll pivot over to Singletary. With Stevenson, obviously, he's been very inefficient. He's been playing in one of the worst offenses in the NFL as well. But now Ezekiel Elliott's seeing less and less of this backfield. Now, Zeus says Cooks, Higgins, Downs, Reed in the flex. 10-team non-PBR. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to go with Josh Downs. Less excited about him in a non-PPR format, though. Admire says, risk benching DK for Olave and flexing Achane. Yes, I would go ahead and I'd say we're going to go with either Olave or Achane, whoever's going to go. Elmer says, full BBR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. Lawrence, Howell, Bijan, Kyron, Moss, Warren, Olave, Hollywood, DK, Higgins, and Samuel. We're going to be going with Lawrence at quarterback. Running back, we're going to go Bijan, Kyron. Wide receiver, we're going to go Olave, Hollywood. We're going to go Zach Moss for the flex. But actually, we're going to go, Olave, DK. And then if Olave is not good to go, then we'll pivot over from Olave to Hollywood. Colin says, we have Montgomery, Swift, Keenan. Were these just more rest days or actual injuries we need to keep track of? With these veterans, I am not too concerned when they miss a Wednesday practice. Once they miss a Thursday, then it's like, okay, we need to keep track of this. We need to make sure that they're there on Friday. If they miss a Friday, then it's like, okay, we probably need to find another option. But yeah, with these veterans in particular, I'm not worried about when they miss just a random Wednesday practice. Now, Dave says, Chase for Metcalf already made the playoffs in a full PPR format. I would rather have Chase. How I'm viewing Jamar Chase, just like Devontae Adams. An elite receiver and one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Joey says, second offer, 9-3. I get Kmet and Cooks or Reed for McBride. 16-team full BBR format. Is Ertz coming back? I don't really care if Ertz is coming back or not. I'd probably rather have Trey McBride here. I mean, I understand where you're coming from in a 16-team format. The wide receiver depth is going to be a little bit harder to come by. I understand you wanted to go out there and pick up someone like Brandon Cooks. I think it just makes so much more sense for you to stand still with McBride. Jovi says, hey, what's up, Mason? For different leagues, Rice or Hollywood or Aaron Jones if healthy in the flex. Other ones, Sutton or Hollywood or Charbonnet, and then Love or Howell. Okay. I'm going to go Rice, Charbonnet, Howell. Rice, Charbonnet, Howell. Sam Howell does only have like a 19-point implied team total, but it actually is higher than the Green Bay Packers. And we've seen in Washington that they will just air it out and give him 40, 50 passing attempts. Edgar says, I'm screwed at quarterback. Need a Week 13 starter and rest of season. Options are Pickett, Love, Minshew, Carr, Dobbins. I'm assuming you meant Dobbs. Solid squad minus the quarterback. I would say Joshua Dobbs from a fantasy perspective is probably my favorite long-term option, considering the fact that you will get Justin Jefferson back in. Not only will you get Jefferson back in, but he also has rushing upside. So I'd probably say Joshua Dobbs for the long term. If I had to go for someone for this week, I'm going to go ahead. I will take Gardner Minshew. I mean, if you look at Minshew, he has the highest implied team total. They've been aggressive throwing the ball as well. Maybe they're a little more aggressive here, considering the fact that you have no Jonathan Taylor. Austin says 14-team, 10-2. Have BBR. We have Dak, CMC, Lamb, Jefferson, JT, Moss, Kelsey, HN, Cup, Chase. Start sit. Am I crazy? Not worried about Cup long-term. Love you, bro. Love you, my man. I would say you are crazy to not be worried about Cooper Kupp. I mean, I am worried about Kupp. I understand, and I don't think you're crazy if you wanted to go through and start him. But to not be worried at all, that would be a little nuts. We're going to be starting CMC, Moss, Lamb, Chase, and then for the flex, your call between Achane and Kupp. I think it probably depends on the injury reports that we get over the next few weeks. And then I want to sit here and say, oh, yeah, you need to be. The reality is, even if Cup doesn't turn into anything, this is a freaking 14-team league where it looks like you have a strong team for a 10-team format. I'm just absolutely loaded here. Dave says, Chase Thielen or Metcalf for the playoffs. I'm going to go Chase out of these options. I mean, it's not like we can say, oh, the offense is really bad in Cincinnati. Let's go with the Carolina Panthers guy, you know. Nate says, bench one, Puka, Olave, Ridley, Nico, or Collins. I'm going to be benching Ridley out of this list if Olave is good to go. Jacob says, 10-team PBR, 8-4. Single flex league, we have Hurts, Stroud, Bijan, Moss, JT Pacheco, AJ Evans, Nico, Myers, Ridley, McBride, Freiermuth. Who are we going to start? We're going to go with Hurts at quarterback. We're going to be going with Bijan, Moss at running back. Wide receiver, AJ Evans. Tight end, we're going to go McBride. And then for the flex, we will go Zach Moss. Jake says, hey, boss, 8-4, 10-team league. Need some start-sit help. It's a single flex format. Howell, Keenan, Tyreek, Evans, Kirk, Collins, Stevenson, Charbonnet, Singletary, Brian Robinson. Appreciate the videos. Appreciate you, my friend. I mean, this is a very strong team. I think we're going to go with Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. Running back, we're going to go ahead. We're going to play Charbonnet and Stevenson. For the flex spot, we will go Mike Evans in a full PPR formats. This is a phenomenal team, though, because you can make an argument for a couple different guys in here, specifically at RB2, right? I mean, you have the RB depth where we can go through and we can play the matchups over the next few weeks. Now, That's Him says, Dynasty, trade Puka, receive DK in early second. Thoughts in a rebuild starting this year? If you're rebuilding, I don't think you have any business in trading for DK Metcalf. I think you can go ahead and make this move if your plan is to flip DK Metcalf immediately after. Like, if you think you could sell Metcalf for a first, then let's go ahead and do it. If you think you'd be able to. Now, Coach Jones says 12-team PBR, 5th seed. We have Lawrence, Kyler, Etienne, Pollard, Gibbs, Cook, Diggs, Ayuk, Douglas, Pickens, Brown, Ingram, Taysom. Trade deadline in 2 hours. Any trades? I would say no. Honestly, this is a one flex league. I think we're in a great spot where we don't have too much depth. The only thing I would say is if you're playing in a league where you had to start 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots where the depth was going to be much more important, then I think you probably would have to go through and you'd probably have to sell a quarterback for a wide receiver or a running back. But if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think you're chilling. Augustin says, happy BR start 3. Eckler, Kamara, Kyron, Achane, and Bijan. I'm going to go with Eckler. Oh my gosh, this is brutal. Eckler, Bijan, Kamara. Maybe make an argument Kyron over Kamara considering the fact that it's only a half PPR format and not a full PPR league. I mean, I have Kamara and Kyron ranked pretty much back-to-back this week. You do have Kyron going up against the Browns, though. Colin says, traded Dak, T, Mixon for Bijan. I overpaid because we have Hurts, Pollard, Ayuk, Puka, Smith, Nico, along with Hawkinson. What are your thoughts? Love the deal. I mean, Dak's not going to do much for us when we have Jalen Hurts. Mixon and T are in the worst offense in the NFL right now, so going and getting Bijan Robinson makes a lot of sense. Jonathan says 12-team PBR where we have Hurts, Kyron, Bijan, Amon-Ra, Kupp, Ingram with Hall in the flex. Should we start Downs or Rice instead of Kupp? 6-6, win, and I'm in. So if you look at the Underdog pick'ems right now, keep in mind Underdog has been too high on Cooper Kupp every single week over the past 3 or 4 weeks. They have Cooper Kupp at 65.5 receiving yards. If you're comparing this to other options, like in Kansas City, Rashee Rice, they have it 47.5. Going over to Indy, they have Josh Downs at 50.5. So they have Cooper Kupp as the clear start here. Obviously, Kupp has been horrendous. I wouldn't mind going through and starting him and taking the fewer than 65.5 receiving yards. I personally would probably go Cooper Kupp and just listen to the projections when they are this wide apart. But I would not fault anybody for determining that Rice would be the better option. Dave says DJ Moore or Chase for the playoffs. I'm going to go Jamar Chase. Nicholas says start JSN, Christian Watson for Diggs. I'll go Christian Watson just because JSN is such a tough matchup this week. Then Juwan, Conklin, Crafter, Henry for Kincaid. Hate it, but we will go Henry. We have Palmer on the IR, but who knows if he's good to go. Yeah, and just play Christian Watson over Palmer. I am not excited to play Palmer's first week back in. Charlie says 12-team PBR single flex. We have Allen, Hall, Ramondre, Javonte, Puka, Dell, London, Rice, Hollywood, Kelsey. Any moves to make? Maybe Javonte and Dell for Gibbs and DK. If you can make this move full PBR format, I really would like to do it. I mean, overall, you have a very well-balanced team. We have the elite quarterback, the elite tight end. We're built with depth at wide receiver and running back. So, no, I think it's a great team. If you wanted to make like a lateral move like this, you can, especially a full PBR format if we're getting Gibbs. Now, Lockford says we've got Deontay and Frymuth off waivers. Would you play Frymuth or Juwan Johnson? I'm going to go Pat Frymuth relatively easily, to be honest. Shy Guy says, hey, Mason, need help with the flex. 12-team full PBR, Rice, Singletary, Mixon, Sutton, or Downs. I probably go Singletary and Rice. If it was anything less than a full PBR format, I'm going Mixon over Rice. But in a full PBR league, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to go with Rasheed. Vincent says, happy BR, start 3. Chase, Dell, Puka, Ridley, Brandon Cooks. We're going to go with the first 3. We're going to go Chase, Dell, and Puka. Obey iPod says, trade Stevenson for Moss. We have White, Montgomery, and JT. I think Zach Moss is better in the short term. Obviously, for the fantasy football playoffs, if Jonathan Taylor comes back, then Ramondre would be better than Moss. So if you needed a win to get in the playoffs and we just lost JT, I understand the deal. Chris says, 12-team app BBR, 8-4. Tua, Moss, Stevenson, Hill, Cup, Ingram. Should we flex Ayuk and start Ayuk and flex Cup, or have Aaron Jones for the flex? So essentially, who are we going to bench out of Cup, Ayuk, or Aaron Jones? If this is Aaron Jones' first week back in, I'm going to bench Aaron Jones. I mean, remember when he came back earlier in the year and they slowly worked him back into this offense? I'm not playing Aaron Jones this week until we see him. Exelon says, need a quarterback for the bye week. Who are we going to pick? Kyler, Geno, or Stafford? We're going to go Kyler. Even if he only has an 18.5 point implied team total, he does have rushing upside. Cody says, 12-team PBR, James Cook, Pickens, Taysom to acquire Eckler. Oh, it's Eckler by a mile, and I don't even like Eckler. Yeah, it's Eckler there, my friend. I'm Gucci Polo coming out saying 10-team PBR, 8-4 second place. JT, Allen, Diggs, Hawkinson. All out. Starting Kyler, Eckler, Etienne, Godwin, Pittman, Logan Thomas, Singletary, Pickens on the bench. Thoughts on the lineup? Honestly, considering the guys that we have out, it is 10 times better than I was expecting. When you had all those guys, I was expecting an absolute garbage team. But no, that's actually pretty nice. But I think that should be it for the live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, I did upload a video on the Dynasty Football Flock YouTube channel. So if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, or if you're interested in Dynasty Fantasy Football, I'm not going to grab the link. Just search up Dynasty Football Flock on YouTube. It should be the first thing that pops up. But really cool video how we broke down how the wide receiver position is changing in the NFL. It's a little bit more of an in-depth view of things if you would be interested in that. But yeah, I don't think we're going to do 2 videos a day going forward on this channel. Probably going to be going 1 video a day here and then 1 video a day on the Dynasty channel. So ramp back up that Dynasty channel. I just love Dynasty Fantasy Football. But yeah, thank you again. If you have not done so already, hit that like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and that Dak Prescott special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. But real quick, ASAP to start 2, Rice, Charbonnet, McLaurin, Cup, and Achane. I probably go Cup and Achane, but I completely understand if you wanted to go with Rice over them. Nick says 12-team PBR double flex, 6-6 top scorers / most scored on. Hurts, Kyler, CMC, Eckler, Swift, Achane, Charbonnet, Moore, Puka, Nico, Laporta. Charbonnet or Achane for the flex. If Achane's good to go, I'm just going to go ahead. I will play Devon Achane over him. Chad says Allen's buy, pick up Browning, Levis, or Pickett. We'll go Pickett given the matchup, but not super excited about any of those players. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. I really hope you have a great day, and I really hope I get to see you out with a live stream after the game tomorrow night.